Obviously, there's, like you were talking about, there's tons of folklore, myths, and husbandry, bizarre things that people are doing in the pet trade. And what are some of the most common errors and common husbandry myths that you see that sort of perpetuate in the hobby?
Well, when I wrote a list, I would
It's quite long.
come up with this an entire freaking page in 5 minutes, less. There's a lot. Some of the most common ones that I see are um, not using a natural basking surface when they're using a temperature gun. Makes a big difference. Temperature guns are used by researchers in the field to determine what temperature an animal is basking at, what temperature is the surface of the stone at, what temperature is the surface of the animal at. If you are using a plastic basking surface or a hammock, it is not going to be able to absorb and reflect heat in the same way, and so you might get a different, possibly dangerous result. Um, More common things. Okay, claiming that loose substrate causes impaction. It does not. Loose substrate is fine. It is everywhere and all over this earth. The problem is, if you are concerned about impaction, make sure the other factors of your husbandry are on point. Make sure the temperatures are high enough. Underheating of reptiles is very common. Most reptiles need temperatures 10 to 20 degrees higher than you think that they do. And temperature gradient. Make sure that the enclosure is large enough to accommodate that high temperature too, so that they can get away with it, or get away from it, not with it. I can get away with it. Make sure that uh, they're adequately hydrated as well. A dehydrated reptile will get impacted because their organs can't function properly. There's not enough water to help things digest. And make sure you're actually using a loose substrate that they were built to digest. Like wood chips on a sandfish skink? No. But fine dune sand, most of their feces actually in the wild is sand. They ingest a lot of it and they pass it just fine. Or let's see. Honestly, wood chips are a big problem. They're just too big. Most are not ingested. Artificial substrates. I had a case when I was just starting out with Reptiles where someone asked me about a artificial leaf that their snake had ingested, and it eventually killed the snake. Yeah, it was very sad. Um, Making sure that their systems are built to handle what you have in their environment is huge when it comes to preventing impaction. Natural, cheap substrates like organic topsoil, peat moss, natural dune sand, great substrates and most likely not going to harm a reptile. Let's see, other problems. That one covered quite a few of them. Overfeeding snakes. Oh my gosh, there are so many obese snakes and lizards, but mostly snakes because people can't tell. Like, it is only when they become morbidly obese, and Helen Cairo does amazing work with obese snake awareness. I love her work as a vet tech, all of the exploratory surgeries that she does and puts on YouTube. Like, it really opened my eyes to this problem and how wide.
Sorry, can you say her name one more time? I think I talked when you said it, and
That's okay. Her name is Helen Cairo.
okay.
Um,
I'll definitely put that in the show notes for people to find.
Kairo.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, she's just an amazing resource. I love her to death, and she's got this quirky sense of humor and this cute little art style that I absolutely
Awesome.
adore. Superworms as regular feeders, I brought that up earlier. Using really fatty sources of food as a regular thing. People think, oh, it's just a bug. Like, what's the difference? No, just like you look at the nutrition facts on your food, you got to look at the nutrition facts on your reptiles' food and adjust accordingly. A high-fat diet is rarely healthy for anyone, unless you're on the keto diet, and that is very special circumstances and not healthy long-term. What else? So much to cover. Ooh, ball pythons. Very common. Not giving them enough space. Minimum enclosure size for an adult ball python is 4 by 2 by 2. Some are more active than others, particularly male ball pythons may need more space despite the fact that they're smaller. They do a lot of climbing and cruising because they spend a lot of time in trees in the wild, so they have those instincts to climb and to cruise. They're looking for females. They're looking for food. You need to give them enough space to accommodate that. So now we see, a lot of ball pythons and other snakes in racks. Sorry to bring up that, but tiny, tiny spaces with no enrichment, no UVB, no temperature gradient. They get so fat. They become these blobs, these brainless just blobs that sit there. They're not even reptiles anymore. They're just a stuffed animal that occasionally moves and eats. Like, that is not a reptile, and it is not how they should be kept. Sparse enclosures as well. Pimp it out. Decor is one of the most expensive aspects of setting up an enclosure, and I absolutely hate it. I don't want to think about how much I spent when I revamped my ball python's enclosure, but it looks great. And she uses it. She's got options for when she cruises, and I love seeing her use it. Night heat is another big one. Most reptiles do not need heat at night. Unless your house gets very cold. Depending on the species, some tolerate only as low as about 70, 65 degrees. Others tolerate all the way down to 50. Bearded dragons, for example. When in doubt, don't use night heat and your animal will be fine. In fact, better, because they will be cold in the morning and motivated to bask. And when they move to bask, they are able to fully recharge, and they will be more active and more metabolically healthy for the rest of their life. Colored bulbs are the last thing I want to touch on. Colored bulbs are not good. Aside from the less severe effects of using a red bulb turns everything they see red, which is weird for them and may have some psychological implications that we don't fully understand yet. You've got blue daytime bulbs that are advertised. These are not healthy. Daylight is white, and blue bulbs will damage an animal's eyesight. It damages a reptile's eyesight, and the blue light that is emitted from our devices, our screens, damages our own eyesight. So we really have to avoid those colored bulbs at all costs. And incidentally, they're usually used for night heat. So again, stop using the colored bulbs and the night.
Yeah, you can kill two birds with one stone there.
Exactly.
And there's actually, now after reading, John's work, the amount of UVB that we should be using is way more than is happening in the hobby right now. I know that you provide UVB for all your animals, I think, right?
A few still need upgrades. I'm